Hey guys, today we'll be looking at another chapter or passage in the Analects of Confucius, Book 5, which is 5.19. And today we'll be examining the highest praise, or the highest praise that Confucius can give to someone, which kind of means perfectly good. And yeah, we'll see what perfectly good actually means, and if two people that we're going to be examining today actually fit into this perfectly good category. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. 5.19. Zizhang asked Ziwen was appointed to the position of Prime Minister of Chu 3 times, yet he did not appear to be pleased. He had to resign from this position 3 times, yet he did not appear to be resentful. And as the outgoing prime minister, he invariably gave the incoming prime minister a full account of the affairs of the state. What do you think of this? The master said he certainly did his best in fulfilling his duty as a public official. Was he humane or 仁? That I don't know. But then how could he or anyone have fulfilled his potential to be humane? Zizhang again asked Cui had the ruler of Qi killed. Chen Wenzi left the state, thus leaving behind everything he possessed in Qi, including the 10 teams of horses, which his position entitled him to have. After he arrived at another state, he said, "The officials here are not different from our counselor Cui." And so he left and went to yet another state, whereupon he said yet again, the officials here are just like our counselor Cui. And so he left that state too. What do you think of this? The master said he wanted nothing to defile him. Was he humane? That I don't know. But then how could he or anyone have fulfilled his potential to be humane? Okay, I know this is really long, and if you made it to this point, thank you for sticking with me. So let's go and analyze this one by one, piece by piece. So Zizhang was one of the youngest disciples of Confucius. He was 48 years younger than him, and he was very ambitious, and he often went over the top, and he was known for being really extreme, which is really perfect because he's really fitting to be asking these questions. So he is really obsessed with the idea of perfectly good. And he's giving out all these examples, extreme people who he probably admired because they were really dramatic and so they stood out. But Confucius instead teaches him that being extreme doesn't mean that this person is a sage or perfectly good. So first, I should probably give a little definition for this word, 仁. It's kind of translated as humaneness or benevolence or goodness in these kinds of translations, but its meaning is it's deeper than that. And people who are this word and will kind of use this as perfectly good because that's what Zizhang was looking for. So people who embody this virtue, who are called sages, or maybe even the junzi, the gentlemen, they are people who can look at this messy, chaotic world and find a way to help it and make it better again, all the while preserving themselves and their own goodness. And we'll start with Ziwen. So he was the prime minister of the state of Chu, and he was serving under a pretty bad ruler because he was constantly pulled and pushed out of this position as prime minister, 3 times to be exact. And when appointed, he didn't brag, and he wasn't exactly happy or joyed either. And when fired from his job, he didn't complain and wasn't resentful. And so you can see that he's very stoic. And because he's constantly going in and out of this position, he didn't show any resentment to his successor, no jealousy or anything. And instead, he just peacefully handed over the papers about what's going on in the state and told him all about it. So you can see that he's professional, honest, and morally upright. And so Confucius says that he is dutiful, or certainly did his best in fulfilling his duty as a public official. So dutiful or loyal, that's what this one word in Chinese kind of translates to. And so that kind of means he was really good at doing his job, he knew how to follow orders, and he was devoted to this job and loyal to his ruler. And so Zizhang asks, is this humane? And Confucius says, well, I don't know. And he says, how would he be humane? And that was really just a polite way to say, nope, absolutely not. Because being loyal or dutiful is just a skill, a specific skill. And someone can easily be loyal to a bad boss, but being the perfect employee or someone who doesn't show a lot of emotions and just follows orders, that doesn't mean that you are benevolent, you are humane, because that requires a really deep, empathetic heart, which we don't really know if Ziwen has. And this kind of being humane also needs to have empathy. So he didn't really care about the well-being of the people in his state. And he really was just going in and out, but he could have done something to make sure that he didn't go in and out in a correct way, which also helps the people as well. Okay, moving on to the next scene. So we are told that Cui Zi, who was a very powerful minister in the state of Qi, had murdered his ruler. And another official of the state of Qi, who was this guy Chen Wenzi, he was so disgusted with this fact that he left and he abandoned his 10 chariots and 40 horses. And a little bit of math, 4 horses have to pull 1 chariot, so yeah, 40 horses, 10 chariots, which indicated that he was very wealthy and was in a very high official position. And so he just abandoned that because he didn't want to take profit from or just live in a state governed by a corrupted official. So he just went from place to place, and every place that he went to, he just thought, this ruler of the state isn't really good because he is the same as Cui Zi, who, remember, was the one who killed the ruler. And so he just went from place to place going, this ruler is not good either, so I'm not going to serve under him, or him, or him, or him, or him. Confucius says that he wanted nothing to defile him, so he doesn't want anything to corrupt him, and so he's trying to maintain his pure nature, I guess. But it's really just about his reputation. He doesn't want to be corrupted. And so Zizhang asks, is this called being humane? Is this perfectly good? And Confucius again says, I don't know. how would he or anyone be humane with this virtue? So purity in this context means, well, there's a lot of integrity going on, and you're staying true to yourself and kind of refuse to be contaminated by evil. But purity is just refusing to do something, or refusing to do bad things, or at least that is how it is in this context. He was good at walking away from evil, but humaneness is more about staying and helping people instead of just escaping. And sure, when you escape, you're keeping yourself clean, but you're not doing any good to anyone. And you might even be a bit selfish. And hear me out here. So, by going from place to place and refusing to work there, he's kind of quitting, isn't he? Every single time, just because people are not perfect, and everyone is not perfect, but just because he's really nitpicky and he probably doesn't want to help anyone either, because he doesn't just go, oh, I want to stay here and help the people here and help them live a better life, then you can probably conclude that he is kind of, in a way, lazy. And here's the part where we do the comparison. Why aren't these people humane? Why aren't these people 人? So the main difference is that 人 is more about being really active and actively helping people and actively remonstrating others, as in helping them grow with constructive criticism, and also shouldering burdens and active care instead of just passive handovers and withdrawal, which are exactly what Ziwen and Chen Wenzi did, respectively. The major difference is probably that the people who embody Ren are very dynamic, and so is the word. The word has a lot of different sub-meanings to it, like empathy, wisdom, courage, and rightness or ritual. While the two men that Zizhang came up with, they're very kind of static. They only embody a one-sided thing, which are, again, loyalty and purity. But having just one virtue or a one-sided virtue can mean that you have kind of like a lopsided car, or a car with only one wheel. Sure, it is impressive that the wheel is there, but the car itself can't work or function correctly, so all in all, it's not very impressive. The thing that Ziwen lacked was wisdom. Sure, he was obedient, but he failed to see if the government that he was serving in was actually helping people. And plus, he could have also made it help people too. And Chen Wenzi lacked courage. He chose his reputation over the people, and he ran instead of trying to improve and heal the state. And the big reason why Confucius kept refusing to give this praise is because this was the highest praise he could give. Well, one of the highest. Yeah, probably the highest. The highest praise that he could give to anyone. And so he refused to randomly hand it out to people who had only one virtue. Even if it was a virtue, he refused to give it to someone who had only one. And yeah, that'll be all today. I hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!